Hare Krishna. So I want to welcome you all for today's class. And today we have our very special topic, Blossom with a New Spring. So today Chakravarti Prabhuji is a little busy and at the last moment he got some service and because of that he had to leave. So today I would be giving today's seminar and just a bit introduction about myself. My name is Ramhari and work in Amazon as a logistics manager. And been connected to this phone for last Prabhuji and managing a lot of programs with him. So I hope we will have a good discussion on this wonderful topic, blossom with the new spring season. So yesterday was Basant Panchami. Basant Panchami is the day when Basant Panchami is the day when the new spring comes and the entire environment is blossoms with the new kinds of flowers on it. This is a very special time. We have recently crossed the time of winters, and winters is marked by fog. Winters is marked by coldness. Winter is marked by so much of differences which are constantly affecting us. Now, as the summer times comes, the transition between winter and summer is called as spring. This is a time where the nature is balanced. It is not cold, not hot. Before spring, it is too cold. After spring, it is too hot. The climate becomes extreme. But this is a time when it is all balanced. So here comes a very important sutra from Bhagavad Gita, which says, Sama Shatru cha Mitra cha Chaman Apman. In Bhagavad Gita, if you read chapter 12, chapter 2, and many other verses, Lord talks about equality and being equipoised in situations. There are so many situations coming around, then it is important to stay equal. Sama Shatru cha Mitra cha Man Apman. In the time of happiness, in the time of distress, in the time of summer, in the time of winters, in the time of dealing with friends, in the time of dealing with enemies, we have to stay equal. We have to take a balanced approach in life. Like sometimes we become too happy when something good happens in our life, and sometimes we become too sad when distress comes. There's a huge mood mood swings that we all experience. But spring tells us to stay equal. Not very cold, not very hot, not very happy, not very sad. We have to be balanced. Very important lesson that we get from spring. And a person who can stay equipoised, who can control his emotions, that person can become successful. This is a success sutra. And then we see that what actually happens geographically. What happens is that now the earth starts inclining towards the sun. Earlier, the earth was not inclined towards sun. It was moving all away from the sun. Now it starts inclining towards the sun. What does that indicate? Sun means knowledge. Sun means knowledge. And earth starts inclining itself towards the sun. And what happens then? The sunshine breaks the dense fog and reach to the ground. So in winters, we often see there is huge dense fog, and it is very difficult to cross the fog. Very difficult. So what is the way? How this fog is driven away? Only when sunshine comes. The sunshine breaks the fog, tears the fog, and reaches to the ground. So when the earth starts inclining towards the sun, what happens? The fog gets broken up. Similarly, as a person start moving towards knowledge, there are so much of dilemma, there is so much of confusion within our hearts. It starts clearing away. It starts clearing away. And this knowledge starts reaching to the heart. This knowledge starts reaching to the heart. And now we can see what is what. Now we can understand everything very nicely. Supposedly, if we are in a dark room, no light, nothing, very dark room, and then what is the way to remove all the darkness from the room? What is the way? Can we kick out darkness from the room? Can we take a bucket and fill it with darkness and throw the darkness out of the room? How long can we do this? We may try this for years and years, but the darkness will not go. What is the way to remove the darkness? Switch on the light. Simply by switching on the light, the darkness can be removed. Simply by switching on the light, the darkness can be removed. Similarly, when our heart is enlightened with the knowledge, automatically we will be able to see what is true. Because we all are in fearful situations. We all are in fearful situations. Why people feel fearful more in the night? Because it is dark. If we are in a dark room and we don't know what is what, and there must, if you touch a rope which is lying on the table and you touch, oh, you may feel that this is a snake. The rope can appear to be a snake. Or if supposedly you are in a dark room and you're trying to find out something, then and you touch an object, you think that this is a rope, but it was a snake. So you don't know what is what. Room में क्या रखा है, you'll not be able to understand. Why? Because it is all. But when the light comes, when it is enlightened, then what? Then you can see everything very clear. Similarly, when this knowledge comes to our heart, then we will be able to see the right thing in a right perspective. And we will be able to act in a right. Because the life gives us only one chance. Life gives us only one chance. What is the difference between playing a video game and living a life? In video game, we have so many options. We have so many chances. We have at least three chances. Okay, you fail, you lose the life, you have the second. You lose the life, you have the third one. This is an option. It is there. But we do not have such options in our own life. In reality, we do not have those options. In a video game, we may have some winning prizes. We have won 10,000 gold coins, or we may have lost a few armors while playing a video game. But when you turn off that game, you did not win anything, you do not lose anything. But in the reality, and while understand all the rules and regulations, how to jump, how to walk, how to run, how to go left, how to go right, everything you understand. When to bend, when to shoot the gun, you understand each and everything. But it's a video game. It doesn't matter whether you were able to cross those 5 stages to reach to the sixth stage or not. It's just a video game, but still we are so serious. We want to know each and everything from that. What about life? If we have this life, exactly, very clearly about this life also. But then the next question arises, from where we will be able to understand. From where we will be able to understand. So the first part, we discussed that this knowledge is important. Now we come to the second part to understand from where we will take this knowledge. From whom we will take this knowledge. And how we will take this knowledge. Very important question. Because this source will decide your destination. Your source decides your destination. So the source of knowledge will decide the destination you will get after getting that knowledge. So people, they try to gain knowledge from many different sources. Some people, they think that simply by learning from others' experience, I can gain knowledge. Yes, that is the way to gain knowledge. But is it true every time? No. Why? Because we all are creating so many mistakes in life. Then we have a tendency to cheat others. Then our experiences are all limited. Most important thing is that our experiences are limited to time, place, circumstances, limited to our understanding, limited to our vision. They are so limited, faulty. So if our experiences are limited and faulty, backed by enviousness, that we cannot, most of us cannot see other person growing, then in such cases, how we will be able to grow? Simply by depending on others' experience. We cannot. Perfect knowledge we cannot get. So this option goes away. Then there are so many books in the market who are giving so much of knowledge. Can they help? Yes, they can help, but to what extent? Again, somebody is sharing their own experience, and that knowledge gets updated over the time. Today, I have certain concept of life. Now the new things come up. I have another concept of life. Now the another things comes up. We have the third version of life. So the knowledge keeps on changing. So this is another defect. So why not we should depend on a timeless knowledge? Why shouldn't we depend on that? And this kind of knowledge is given in Bhagavad Gita. When Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna 5,000 years ago, this knowledge contains each and everything that we require, which we require today. Everything is covered in Bhagavad Gita. We have never seen that Bhagavad Gita version 2 has come, Bhagavad Gita version 3 has come, or some update is required. No? Same knowledge is there. Then people may say that, oh, we have been reading Bhagavad Gita, we have read Bhagavad Gita, but we did not feel that Bhagavad Gita can answer all my questions. This is because we have not understood Bhagavad Gita properly from the right source. Until we understand Bhagavad Gita from the right source, we will not be able to grow. We will not be able to understand. Another example related to this is that supposedly, if I have an experience of being a doctor for 40 years, I am a doctor with an experience of 40 years in medical sciences. Will that 40 years of experience gonna help me build a bridge? No. Can a civil engineering company will hire me to build a bridge because I have 40 years of experience in medical sciences? No. Why? Because my experience in medical will not help me to do construction. It will not help. So a person who has done 40 years in medical would not be selected. Rather, a person with 5 years of experience in construction would be considered, because the person who has spent time in the construction industry has learned about it, has practiced it. That is why. Similarly, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by through devotional service, only by bhakti, you can understand me. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by the process of devotional service, only by the process of bhakti, we can understand Krishna. We can understand God. If somebody is not a devotee, he cannot explain Bhagavad Gita. Then today you may see so many motivational courses on Bhagavad Gita. You may see so many corporate programs going on basis Bhagavad Gita. You may see so many MBA things, management principles coming from Bhagavad Gita. Yes, they are available, but we will not gain the actual essence of Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because we are not understanding Bhagavad Gita from a devotee. Because Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotee, and only through a devotee. This is a special standard of Bhagavad Gita. Like, what is the difference between reading a book and reading Bhagavad Gita? What is the difference between reading a book and reading Bhagavad Gita? When you read a book, say any book you read, a novel or some subject book, if you are reading, then you will read once, you will understand. You will read twice, you will thoroughly understand. You will read thrice, you will start becoming expert in that subject matter. But when you read Bhagavad Gita, the more you read, the more deep you will go. The more you will read, the more understanding you will develop. The more you will read, the more knowledge, more newer concepts, newer principles will come. Because Bhagavad Gita is not just a book. It is not just some words printed on paper. These are the words spoken by the Supreme Lord. And the verses, the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita are as powerful as God. I'll repeat my line. The words of Bhagavad Gita are as powerful as the Supreme Lord. Supposedly, if God is standing in front of you and there is a shloka of Bhagavad Gita, Dehinu asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara prapte dhirastattam. This shloka, Dehinu asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara prapte dhirastattam. This is as powerful as God standing. This is as powerful as God standing personally in front of you. Why? Because these are the words spoken by the Supreme Lord. And as the Supreme God is ever youthful, similarly, as you go on reading Bhagavad Gita, as you understand Bhagavad Gita, you will be able to understand newer and newer principles to it. Had it been some management book, then just by reading Bhagavad Gita, so many people would have become experts in life. Many of us have done engineering, many of us have done MBA and so many of studies. And in these studies, we have studied so many big, thick sized books. We have studied so many thick sized books. But In spite of studying so many thick books, we will not be able to understand Bhagavad Gita, which is half of its thickness. Why? Because it cannot be understood simply by our skills. Understanding of Bhagavad Gita does not depend upon our skills. It depends upon the mercy of God. Only then we will be able to understand. We may learn some verses. People may learn some shlokas of Bhagavad Gita and they may quote some shlokas of Bhagavad Gita very nicely, very perfectly, very melodiously. They may sing the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, but they will not be able to apply it in the life when the actual situation comes. Why? Because they have not understood Bhagavad Gita from a devotee. They have not understood Bhagavad Gita with the spirit of devotional service. So we have discussed that why knowledge is important. Then we discussed what is knowledge. We discussed that from where we will get this knowledge. We will get this knowledge through Bhagavad Gita. Now the next question arises, who will give us this knowledge? So I bring I'm sorry, the network went down. So, so what happens that after half an hour of putting the phone on charging, I go and see that must be some percentage of charging that must have increased. So I saw that Array, this has not charged. The phone has not charged. Then what I see is that the socket is actually not connected to the power board. There was a nice, beautiful socket which was there on the wall, hanging on the wall, but it was the wires were not connected with the power circuit. Then even if I put this phone or charging for 6 hours, the phone will not charge. I put this phone on charging for a lifetime, the phone will not charge. Why? Because the cords, the wires were not connected with the circuit board. And this is a very important principle in Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara praptam emam rajarshayo. This knowledge can be understood by a person guru only My apologies with the network. So, some person who is self-proclaimed, who guru, can understood when a person is has a the guru has a guru, the guru has a guru has a guru, dot it goes to the Krishna. So Krishna, the God, is the supreme guru. Krishna Vande Jagat Guru. So Krishna is the supreme God. So Krishna Shishya, Shishya to his Shishya to his Shishya to his Shishya to his Shishya. This knowledge comes in a parampara. It is not that this knowledge continuously reach to you properly. Then it can be understood. Today, what is happening? A lot of hodgepodge is happening in the name of spirituality. A lot of hodgepodge is happening. Give their own ideas, they give their own belief system, and they say that I practice this, you practice what you like, I practice my way, you practice your way. I don't care what you do, I don't care what he does, I'll practice my way. Then they will start fighting. The time comes, the place comes, the environment comes, the culture comes, and everything changes. Your ideas, I am presenting my ideas, he's presenting his ideas, the other person presenting his ideas. There are people who will practice blind faith. They will do whatever they like in the name of religion, in the name of get money, they will use spirituality. There are people who want some desires, and then all the blame comes to spirituality. That this spirituality, this religion, they think this is mythology. This does not exist in the human world. Someone who will present this spirituality in the right way. And then the person from whom you are medical videos on YouTube, you will not become a doctor. Simply by reading many get yourself trained from a doctor. You will not become a doctor. Without reaching, without going to such a person who can actually was that why this knowledge is important. Then we discuss what is this, who will give this knowledge. Now the next question arises, what will happen when we get this knowledge? immediately whatever pains we have, they will diminish. Whatever we have gained this knowledge. The immediate effect of gaining this knowledge is that beginning of this first thing. Why? Because now so once upon a time there was an old lady who used to stay all alone. She decided that I will bring a bird, I will pet a bird in my place. So she goes to the market and buys a bird. And she got a very big cage for her. And the bird was hung, the cage was hung nicely, and the bird was made to sit in that cage. So after some time, she saw that the bird is not singing as the bird was must be very lonely. Like I'm very lonely, the bird must be feeling very lonely. So she goes to the market and the birds are not singing. She thought that might be that this cage is not sufficient for that those birds. And then she thought that still the birds with gold. So the cage will look bright and will shine like gold. So she brought gold and painted the cage in all gold. Even to understand, to do a root cause analysis of the situation, that why the birds die. Died. Why? So then somebody asked that, did you for them? It would just bringing a cage, a beautiful cage for the birds are not fed, no matter how beautiful the cage is, the birds will not be happy. Very comfortable, all luxuries, very beautiful rooms, but there is no food to survive. You need food to survive. Similarly, we are into this body. We are souls. The very important principle from Bhagavad Gita is that we are not the body, we are souls. So the soul is living in the body. The soul is living in the body. And if the soul is not fed the spiritual diet, what will happen? What will happen? The soul will not be happy. No matter how strong the body is. No matter how nutritious food we are giving to the body, how much care we are taking to the body of the body, how much beauty products we are putting to the body will not be. Why? Because the soul is not given food. So similarly, without getting happiness, first, what is this knowledge? The spiritual knowledge. From where we will get this knowledge? We will get this knowledge from Bhagavad Gita. Who will teach this knowledge? We will be able to understand this knowledge from the devotees who are trying to practice this knowledge. How we will get this knowledge? By hearing from them. What is the result of this knowledge? Our life will become happy. And what will be the result of active to others and to yourself? Why? Why it will become so beautiful? Because now you know what is so. You are situated in the right. I'll stop here. This was my little understanding on the topic of Basant Panchami.